This is maybe our biggest obstacle yet, is this canoe.
Oh my God.
What are we gonna do?
This is a huge obstacle.
Wow. Oh,
We may have to turn back, John.
you think? Do you think you're gonna be able to do this? See, we're carrying our banner to unfurl. There we go.
Oh, this is a mess. We're gonna go to the wall, right?
Yeah, we're on our way to the wall, Jake. We can't turn back now.
Jesus Lord.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.
Well, what I wanted you to see, and you haven't seen this yet, and this was back in
2013.
2002. And it was a Mr. Fix-It. I don't know if you remember when there was a Mr. Fix-It. It was a weekly article in the paper. And Queen Elizabeth owns property on Cedar Lake. But, and yes, and then the question was, I read there's a 10-foot easement around Cedar Lake that is public property. Does that mean I can walk around the lake even where people have houses with property going down the shore? Also, is it true that one of the houses is owned by Queen Elizabeth? The park board answer was yes, you can walk around Cedar Lake, said Emily Euro-Phillips, a spokeswoman for the Minneapolis Park Board. However, your 1.68 mile walk will not be on developed trails all the way. The park board owns all the land around the lake, but only the south and west side have a paved trail. Euro-Phillips said, here's the kicker, Euro-Phillips said, you may encounter some private improvements along the way, such as docks built by owners abutting the property, but they will not impede your walk.
Okay, we're gonna put that to the test
We
today.
are really gonna put that to the test and just check that out. But this was the other one, but we may have to deal with that one later. James Eli Schiffer was a whistleblower. He did a whistleblower article for the Star Trib, and we took a walk.
Oh, you took a walk for this
We did,
story? Huh?
yeah. So, you know, it's like deja vu here if we're going to do a little walk here. But the interesting thing gets down to the park commissioner or property owner, Nordag.
Right. Who is rumored to be running this year. I don't know that he's
Really,
officially
and
running.
at the time, he was president of the park board commissioners.
Yeah.
And we had this horrible, you know, really it was a struggle to get anywhere.
Does he still own a home on the lake?
Yeah, he has a house right over, not maybe a couple to the south of that new one that's, you know, the big boulder wall and patio.
This has been an ongoing issue for many years.
Oh, it's so complicated.
We are back on the Wedge Live podcast. I'm your host, John Edwards. We're here on Cedar Lake, the beautiful Cedar Lake, and I'm here with Jake Werner. Jake contacted me by email after the recent Tom Olson episode and thought, we didn't do proper service to the Cedar Lake encroachments. There's a bunch of very wealthy people who have encroached on Cedar Lake, which is parkland. They've got docks. I'm looking at them right now because we're here, we're live on Cedar Lake. I see a rock wall. People have built improvements all the way up to the lake, which is parkland. And Jake, you've been following this issue for decades at this point. I see newspaper clippings in your hand. You've got notes. We talked last week. You've got amazing recall of events going back many decades about this. And I'm glad to be able to talk to you about it here. Somebody who, titling this episode, Harrowing Personal Stories. I'm very upset about the encroachments on Cedar Lake.
I love that title. I really do. That's pretty good, John. Well, you know, I think the best way to describe this, and this has so many layers to it. It's just astounding, and it does go back a long, long way. And I think the best way to start would be to just give some history. But the first thing I'm going to say is that I think this situation can be summed up with this. This is a breach of public trust by the park board. I do not hold any of these property owners accountable for their docks, for the big boulder wall that's just been put in, and all the rest of the stuff along here. It couldn't happen without the acquiescence of the park board, period.
Going back generations.
But I want to start with this, and this is a it's a statement from the Ecology Law Quarterly. When access, this is a quote, when access to a public trust resource is impeded and the enjoyment of that resource is thus prevented, the public trust doctrine is violated. And we're at ground zero right here with the public trust. And then I want to give you an intro to Frederick Law Olmsted, who gave a talk for the very first Board of Park Commissioners. The Park Board was established in 1883. This Frederick Law Olmsted speech came in 1886. I'm going to kind of paraphrase it. Why has the Park Board not heeded the words of Frederick Law Olmsted, creator of New York Central Park, in his address to the first Board of Park Commissioners, that common green space must always be available to everyone and defended against private encroachment? He said that public land is not for the benefit of one or more individuals, and that failure to uphold this principle is a breach of public trust.
So you've got no shortage of articles about this topic. It seems like the same article or opinion piece is written every couple of years, and it's just not arguable that this is wrong, that the park board has essentially given away land to rich people, and the reason it's not clawed back is because they are rich people, and it's so corrupt. I get angry, and I get angry about it every couple of years. I forget about it. I go on with my life, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they're stealing public land, and the park board is letting them do it. So why did you first start caring about this? Why are you on this crusade here? Because because you have collected, I see dates on the printouts that are like 2013.
Got a lot of stuff
have
here.
printed stuff out more than a decade ago, and you still have it. So when did you start caring about this?
I really cared about it when we moved from Harriet Avenue in the Kingfield neighborhood, not too far, and Lake Harriet was my lake that I would go to and bike and run and all that. And we moved over here, and all of a sudden I realized I was so disappointed about not being able to circumnavigate this lake. It's I think a huge inconvenience. It takes away from the enjoyment of, there's something enjoyable about navigating around something and finishing it up. Here, it's what really upsets me is that I get to this point, and I live over on the west end, so I come over here, and to continue to get to the lake, I have to go to Burnham Road. On Burnham Road, you have a two-way traffic, no sidewalks, parking on either side, undulating route, and I feel it's dangerous. I feel uncomfortable, and the park board, by continuing to allow this situation, simply takes the public and puts them over there. And they talk about safety as a priority.
And as we sit here, there's like construction going on over there. There's that rock wall. When did that rock wall go in?
I call it the big boulder wall and patio. Well, that person bought the property probably 4 years ago. paid $2.6 million for the house, immediately tore it down, and it's still in the process of being constructed. But that big boulder wall went in during the Cedar Isles master plan, which was a kind of a lengthy plan that just, kept going, and I don't know why. But after the park commissioners voted to endorse this plan, and they endorsed it by denying the amenity of putting in a public path on the parkland around this lake. They instead endorsed a literal edge along the lake, keeping this cozy situation of privatization of this parkland. And the literal edge is meant to, it takes up space. And there are points where there are limited space, and we'll find out. There's points, they talk about a thin strip of land, like it's that way all the way around. It's at a couple places over here. But the literal edge will take up room for a public path. Instead, it should have been put in a public path on the lake, on the park-owned property, the public-owned property, and put in the literal edge in the space that we can after that. So that came about June 21st, 2003 was the amendments meeting, and July 5th was when the park board, the full park board, voted on the plan. And August 1st, this guy was building that big boulder wall. He got for some reason, July 20th, he was issued a construction permit. I mean, the park board claims that we take encroachment permits very seriously. It's really hard. All other means have to be, unattainable for us to give permits, encroachment permits. And he got one with no problem. And so he started to build the wall.
So you mentioned before to me that this is unlike other lakes in Minneapolis. Every other lake in Minneapolis, you can go all the way around the lake. There's public access all the way around the lake. Minneapolis is famous for it. We didn't build all over our lakefronts. We have public access. It's a good thing. Everyone says it's the great thing about Minneapolis parks is that we have access. And yet the park board's not willing to do anything about this.
In 1933, Theodore Wirth, in his book, accounting the park board from 1883 to 1946, I think was when. And in his book, he said, a strip of land has been donated to the park board, starting at Cedar Lake Parkway and going over to Kenilworth Channel. And he said, there's no reason, no logical reason why we should not provide the entire shoreline now available, render the entire shoreline available to the public. So his plan was to have a path here.
We're dishonoring the memory of Theodore Wirth, the beloved Theodore Wirth.
Yeah, he made a huge impact here. But what happened then is that in 1938, following our history line, in 1938, you can imagine there wasn't a lot going on around here. This was on the fringe of Minneapolis. And there was some development. It was called the Douglas Rees development, where they built some homes on the southeast side of Cedar. And the park board somebody noticed that there were starting to be encroachments built. They addressed it. These people asked the park board, what do we have to do to make it legal? We know it's public property, but we want to keep it up. There's nobody over here using it right now. So the park board at that time granted, and they're labeled, John, temporary encroachment permits.
1938.
And here they are today, and the park board still honored that temporary encroachment permit that may or may not have had a wall there to issue that permit. They didn't They didn't say, well, you prove to us, Mr. New Homeowner, that there was a wall there that you want to reconstruct. But just even honoring temporary encroachment permits that long, well, how can you call it temporary?
Right, we're coming up, 90 years almost?
That's 86 years in running. Well, that's one of the things that really irritates me. These temporary encroachment permits should have been squelched long ago.
So it's an election year. We're electing new park commissioners. Is there any hope politically that I like Tom Olson, but he seemed beat down on this issue. He seemed like he didn't want to fight this fight, even though I think he probably agrees that the encroachment is wrong.
I'm sure Tom Olson does, Commissioner Olson does. He's one of the few people who actually spoke to the public path after the literal edge is installed. Then if there's room, can the public path, and that was nice of him to say that. But I think Commissioner Olson buys what the staff is selling, and that is that installing a public path along here is impossible due to the width of the encroachments, that it's so small that you can't squeeze a public path in it. And that's what they keep saying. And then the other thing was that there was a unique, the 10 by 10 in the master plan offered to put in at pinch points boardwalks. And it wouldn't be big boardwalks, it'd just be boardwalks to hook back up to that.
I mean, at the very least, get them to pull their crap off the public land. Everything they built, disassemble it, make it go away, and then we can decide how accessible we want it to be, path or not. Like if it's just some natural area, you could at least walk through it in a way that it's more difficult to climb over a rock wall, for example, or a fence, or whatever else they've got going on over there.
Well, John, we can look at these people here now, having picnic, having a good time, and you look down there at that wall of vegetation there. Okay, do you know what most of that is?
What's that?
It's buckthorn.
Okay.
Now, why is it that the park board is making this Herculean effort to remove buckthorn around here, and yet they leave it, and it's along that side too.
It's a wall, it's a barrier.
It's a wall, a barrier. And what it tells these people is this is as far as you go. This is your parkland.
Right.
But, and it's ironic because there is a little area, a little gateway there in a sense, where people could meander over there, but they don't. It's like a invisible dog.
It certainly gives the appearance of private property.
Yes, it does.
And it will make you feel like you're doing something sketchy by going over there. And by the end of this episode, we are going to go over there on top of the rock wall. We're going to scale the rock wall.
Oh boy.
Unfurl a banner.
Do we have ropes and grappling hooks?
We're just with our bare hands and feet, get up there.
We're going to get over there.
Speaking of public access, we talked a little bit about when I met you last week. You thought it was important, and you've also talked about this beach in kind of
the renovation that was
public area wasn't here before, and how it's bringing more people to Cedar Lake. It's
become a commons area,
and it's making it a better, safer place for people who live here.
The renovation of this, which was done by Cigna, not even the park board. Well, the park board helped. I guess they threw some money in. But Cigna came up with a plan. They came up with the money. The whole beach was renovated. And it just shows what a little bit of artistic, aesthetic planning can do to improve an area and bring people to it. They added the picnic tables, and they're always used. They added the grills there, and they're always being used. So and you can see how the turf is really getting worn down. They need more space here. There's no question about that. But it was probably one of the first renovations that had taken place here in a long time, and it is a huge difference.
And no picnic tables around Lake of the Isles.
Lake of the
You've got a long enough memory that you can explain to me why there are no picnic tables around Lake of the Isles. No grills?
There are no there's not one
like-
grill,
it's
there's
like-
not one picnic table.
I'm getting the impression, talking to you about Cedar Lake, Lake of the Isles, that people in big fancy people in mansions don't want the public using public land that's in front of their house.
I think they don't mind people walking around it, but I don't
Keep it
think
moving. Keep
I
it
don't think
moving.
they want people to linger. And what I've heard is, the picnic table. Oh, we don't all that mess to clean up, and you get big groups of people. Now, this is not stated.
If you wanted to hang out at a park, you would have a house there. You would own a house on that park if you wanted to hang out there. Otherwise, keep it moving.
That's right. That's right. Well, wait till we get to the restrooms.
Yes, if you wanted to use the restroom at a public park, have a house across the street. Otherwise, keep it moving.
Well, during the Cedar Isles Master Plan, the public and it was a plan that was dominated, absolutely dominated, by the, I would say, wealthy, privileged people that were planted around these lakes. Okay, they called for no amenities in the plan. Now, this is a 30-year plan. We don't need any more amenities. We can't take care of what we have now. The lakes work just as they are. Well, they do to a degree, but they could have a renovation that would add pleasure and add people. And that's another thing. I was a proponent of DEI for public places. I think it's so important. And there are elements to some of the park that is not favorable at all to any diversity and inclusion. It's not good. I was very, very disappointed at the master plan. And we can go back to porta potties. Would you think that porta potties would be a really big topic to be discussed by the CAC session after session? Porta potties. Now, wouldn't you think that that's just simply a staffing problem for the park board, where they go, we don't have any porta potties, let's add a couple over here. I mean, it would just be automatic.
Right.
I can assure you that the Bidet Harriet master plan did not really focus on porta potties because they're already there.
Right.
And here, it's because, especially at Lake of the Isles, and I have heard this, that the Lake of the Isles people do not want to look out their window and see a porta potty.
I mean, they've essentially printed these things in the Hill and Lake press over the years. Like, it's not even like secret, unspoken rules of local politics. It's things that have been printed in Hill and Lake press. If you go back and read the old issues there and see what politics around park planning has been, they really just don't want the parks to be used by people who don't live there.
They have this local community, and it's funny because these are regional parks, by the way. Regional parks, when you have a master planning process, have to include a broader community, a regional input, rather than just have the immediate neighborhood input. And if you have just the immediate neighborhood inputting, it's always going to end up the same, because they have so much influence. There will never be a public path around here. Yes. They'll say, we don't want a public path, we don't need one. Well, no, and you don't need docks either. You have all your private docks. I mean, we can talk about that later, about Elizabeth Schaefer's response to docks.
Let's talk about Elizabeth Schaefer's response to docks right now. Because how many private docks do we have on Cedar Lake?
Well, we can only see, I think, one, but there are actually 6 along there,
So
and that's actually less than there used to be.
We have 6 private docks on Cedar Lake.
Yes.
Tell me about Elizabeth Schaefer's response to the idea of having a small public dock on Cedar Lake over on this South Beach area.
The Cedar Isles Master Plan, they followed the desires of the community, of this local community. And so they incorporated very, very few amenities. And to call a porta potty as amenity is a stretch. But it did incorporate a small public dock on the east side of the South Beach, which would be somewhere over where those the picnic area is going on, maybe a little bit around there. Well, at the amendments meeting, which was like closing off, we're finishing up, Elizabeth Schaefer addressed deferred maintenance, which was another big deal. And I think it was a big deal over here so that they wouldn't have to add any amenities. They're saying, oh, our parks are in disarray. We don't need to add another element that we have to maintain. And so Elizabeth Schaefer introduced an amendment that said, before I think the community would take one less fishing dock, she called it a fishing dock, if we said, rather than that, the money that we get for the fishing dock, that we would use for long-standing deferred maintenance problems. So let's eliminate that fishing dock for the public. And I'm thinking, well, sure, it's easy for these people to say, we don't need a dock because they've got their own dock.
The people who matter have their private docks on Cedar Lake. We don't need no public docks.
Although ironically, we have guaranteed access to all of these amenities, but it's really hard to use them. It's hard to get to them, and then how would you feel out there? You'd feel a bit out of place.
You would.
So the fishing dock, because that amendment was actually endorsed by the park commissioners, and the fishing dock then will rely on whatever they decide should be these deferred maintenance problems, which you can always find one. So it's disheartening.
Is there anything what are we not thinking of, Jake?
Well, I just want to finish with Commissioner Schaefer, and she was really, I think she absolutely acquiesced to this whole community.
Well, that's how Elizabeth Schaefer is. She acquiesces to the very, very wealthiest people around her.
So to go back to this, I think just an inane subject of porta potties. To get funding for the regional master plans, you have to go before the Met Council Parks and Trails Committee. And that's a volunteer committee, and they try and discern, is this a good plan? Has this corrected some things? And they put the plan before, and it included 2 porta potty locations. One at Lake of Dalles, one at the canoe racks over on the northwest corner there. There's canoe racks, and there's a little dock there too. Then the other one was on the southwest quarter at where they called the athletic fields. Now, I've never seen much athletics going on in those fields or much of anything, but 2 porta potties. Now, at the same meeting, Schaefer got up and said, another amendment I would like to do. And she said, and because I feel it's my duty to be fiscally responsible as a park commissioner and not to waste taxpayer money. So I think, let's go really slow on the porta potties. Why don't we just add the one over at the canoe racks, and leave the one out at the athletic fields unless the public complains about it. And then we could go ahead and add another one. Oh, she got a standing applause from the mostly Park Lane residents.
It's the classic tactic of delay. Delay this thing I don't like, but I don't want to say publicly I'm against.
Yes.
We push it out far enough that it dies.
Oh, sure. There you go.
Classic Schaefer tactic. Classic NIMBY tactic.
Absolutely. I just want to mention one more. Well, in terms of fiscal responsibility. So in 2022, now this was 2023, June 21st. In 2022, Commissioner Schaefer introduced an amendment to the Kenilworth Channel and the Southwest Light Rail Transit program. And what had happened is that when they built the bridges there, the new bridges, some of the WPA boulder walls, tiny little boulder walls. They were very aesthetically pleasing, really, and just smaller retaining walls against the channel. And some of those were ruined. And Southwest Light Rail said, "I'll tell you what, we'll redo all of the wall there because they're all crumbling." And the park board said, "Yeah, they are all crumbling." Now, for the park board to do it, it was a $400,000 project. Southwest Light Rail said, "We'll just go in and redo the whole thing." So Commissioner Schaefer said, "Well, that will really impact the public's use because they have to de-water the channel." Well, the canoes, the kayaks, the paddle boarders, they come from the day, and they're not going to be able to use that. That's an imposition to the park board. So she came up with a funding, a penalty to monetize it, $276,000 that Southwest Light Rail would have to pay for dewatering the channel for a period of 5 months.
To do a park improvement.
To do a park improvement.
Pay us to pay for our improvements.
And where would that $276,000 come from?
Taxpayers.
The taxpayers. Yet she challenged one porta potty.
And another thing.
I mean, seriously, John.
BRT stops. BRT stops, which is a public amenity, transit access to parks. They did the same thing. They're like, pay us for the privilege of putting a transit stop on B'nai Makaska. Another thing.
Oh yeah, for the buses there.
Yeah.
So the park board had to pay for that?
Met Council had
or
to pay
the Met
for that.
Council,
yeah, had to pay the park board to
put in
an amenity, to pay for an amenity. In addition to her turning down
An amenity for the public.
turning down free money from the county for the ADA ramp to the Greenway,
Yep.
turning down free Met Council money for a redo of the mall in compliance with the park board's own master plan, just turning down money left and right, and she's missed fiscal responsibility.
Well, I have to just say, I mean that the mall, I was really taken aback when that went through a master planning process. It was endorsed and set up as this is a plan, and is that another 20 year, 30 year
It's
plan?
a long range plan.
It's a long range plan. And all of a sudden, that community kind of got together and said, we're going to lose some parking spaces here, even though it's illegal to park there, but Well,
they didn't want
illegal.
other people parking in front of their homes.
That's what it was.
The people who were losing the parking spaces might have to
Because
park
they would have
50 feet over and park
they would
in
have
front
to
of.
cross the Greenway and park along there. And to shelve that plan gave me hope, John, that we can shelve this really bad Cedar Isles master plan. I mean, the aisles, a refectory, a picnic, a picnic pavilion, or just even picnic tables and grills somewhere around Lake of the Isles what would be wrong with that?
It goes back to the politics of the people who live around it saying, no, not here. We don't want people using the park. No more amenities.
Right.
Keep out.
It does go back to that, but here's where the park board, I think I hold them at fault. And I'll go back to Olmsted, where he said the park commissioner should not be beholden to the public for improving parks, that they should lead the process and be ahead of the curve. And I think Olmsted saw that a community will get to a point where it will control everything that happens within a park if you allow that. I don't think that was a good plan at all, but that's the way it worked out. It's worked out over here. I don't think it's working out that way. Like Minnehaha Creek has a wonderful master plan in place. I don't know if they've done that yet.
Right.
And I think Harriet and Bidet came up with really a pretty good plan.
I think in an election year, it's important to note that park politics flies under the radar, and it's easy for it to get dominated by the very few and the wealthy who live near parks. That's just what happens. And maybe this is an argument for abolishing the park board. I'm going to introduce a really controversial topic. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. But I think what having a park board does, flying under the radar, is it creates this very narrow political interest that dominates. Whereas if it was a city department, like under the mayor, under the city council, you'd have a lot more eyeballs on it. And those elected officials are beholden to a much wider swath. Even though they have the same constituents, I feel like they listen to a broader swath of people because they are just more visible public officials than park board commissioners are.
Well, that's a good point, but I will say this. I'll go back to the Minnehaha Parkway, and that parkway is that a regional asset, I think? It involves a lot of neighborhoods, but I went to a couple of those meetings and they were packed full. There was one meeting here that was packed full of people, and that was the anti-amenities. When the plan came out to actually have a path around here, it went out to everybody around, and they had it over at the Kenwood Park Gym, and people got up and said, no. You know, they just shot that plan down right away. And they called things like a public path big ideas. That's not a big idea. That's a basic idea.
Right. It's around every lake in the city, basically.
It is around. I think it is. Everyone that can possibly, maybe Lake Hiawatha, because of the golf course, might not have a path all the way around it, but whatever, all the rest of them. And the chain of lakes, which is the most used, as you know, the regional park in the state of Minnesota, they deserve, they should have a path all the way around. Do you want me to talk about Al Bangura?
Do we have to talk about Al Bangura? What are we gonna? Is he gonna give another quote? We could end it. Can we end it on Al Bangura's quote about how public land is public land and we shouldn't allow encroachments?
We could end it
Let's do that.
On that. But I just have to say, and this is in writing, and this is part of the Cedar Isles Master Plan document.
What Jake is trying to show you is there's no shortage of documents and written material in support of his position.
There's no end to it.
Don't force him to take you to court, is what he's saying. There we go.
But this is really worth it. Existing encroachments would have to be.
This is not Al Bangura. This is
no. This is the access and circulation design recommendation from the Cedar Isles Master Plan.
Okay.
Existing encroachments would be removed at the time the littoral edge is to be installed. Implementation and homeowners would have to apply to the Board of Commissioners for a new encroachment license. Now this is really a terrible hardship, if they were interested in using public land for private use again in the future. Can you indict yourself anymore?
Is this still applicable?
Oh, this just came out.
Okay.
This is the master.
Are they going to remove their encroachments?
At the time when they apply the littoral edge, well, you know damn well that big boulder wall is not going to have to be removed for adding a littoral edge. I will bet any amount of money on that. And you can see the people are so excited about adding the littoral edge that they're starting to add it themselves.
Right.
To break up the landscape. But I want to bring up Bangura because it's just kind of so relevant in terms of how this situation is viewed. So Al Bangura, and I like Superintendent Bangura, he gave an optimistic speech at the Minneapolis Parks Foundation, and that was December 14th, 2023. And he emphasized public access to lakes and parklands, and he stated this, quote, "Parks are for everyone. What a great way to experience these wonderful lakes that are ours, that we have access to. There's not $1 million house butted up to our lakeshore and you can't walk across it, right? We can walk along our lakes. We can go out to our lakes. We are universally inclusive." Now remember, he had issued a construction permit to build that big boulder wall that impedes park board access on June 20th, 2023.
The Cedar Lake is immune from our highest ideals about public land, Jake.
It really is.
I don't know what's wrong with you, Whitey. You don't understand this. It's
really
been since 1938. Since 1938. This is just a Minneapolis tradition now. The laws and highest ideals do not apply here.
Well, Maggie Korth and Andrew Tillman and journalist, Star Trib, Maggie Korth just called it out beautifully.
Well, it's going to take the people. The people are going to have to rise up and demand
I
it
agree.
and elect
I agree.
commissioners
I
who
agree.
will hold them to this.
That's why I wanted to have my birthday party on the Big Boulder Rock.
So are you ready to trek out there?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
But Maggie Korth called it total privatization. So you know, that was her opinion of her walk over here, and she never finished it.
Hello, Wedge Live podcast listeners. This is John Edwards speaking on behalf of our newest sponsor, Eric's Stolen 2006 Chevy Suburban. Eric's Stolen Chevy Suburban. It's blue, but sometimes when the light hits it just right, it looks a little green. Plus, there's rust by the gas cap and a sticker on the back that says "Mountains, please." Eric's Stolen Chevy Suburban answers to the name Rita. Eric has used Rita to carry dirt and soil for friends and neighbors. He has transported campaign volunteers to door knock shifts across the 7-county metro, and he's helped move many a couch. This vehicle is a true community asset, and Eric wants Rita back. If you see Eric's Suburban, you can call the police. If you're not comfortable calling the police, you can email your tips to ericsstolenchevysuburban@wedgelive.com. That email address again is ericsstolenchevysuburban@wedgelive.com. Thank you for supporting our sponsors.
Well, Jake, we're on our way here. Are you worried?
Worried about what?
Going where no park users have ever gone before.
You know, I'm actually not. I've walked the shoreline. Well, here, you know, in the winter, John, this is interesting. In the winter, as part of the Lopet, they come around and they plow a path around this lake and a path through the channel. And if you want to see the popularity of what that path would be like, you see it in the winter. Because they don't walk down to Burnham Road. They take that path and it's very popular. And they come from both ways, which was why the plan was to have pedestrian bridges at Cedar here and over at Isles.
Jake, I want to narrate this for our listeners because not everyone is watching on YouTube. We're going through what appears to be private backyards. Are these private backyards?
Well, we don't know. The park board's never marked a...
The park board refuses to mark this for us to let
I
us
don't know
where
why,
we're
and
allowed
that's a
to
question.
be.
Why not? But I would say you can look at this fence here from this house and say that's probably the property line.
Okay. Well, last time we were out here, you said you were worried about poison ivy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna...
You didn't wear pants.
No, I didn't. I'm gonna take a route.
Here we are down by the lake shore at Cedar
Here we
Lake.
are.
And is our final destination the rock wall?
I think that's where we'd like to head to, if we can make it.
You should
I know
really-
that Maggie Korth made it to the rock wall.
You're going to want to watch on youtube.com/wedgelive. Woo! We've got a paddle board here.
This is on park board land.
youtube.com/wedgelive. In order to see us making this trek, we've got a canoe in the way. This is maybe our biggest obstacle yet, is this canoe.
Oh my God.
What are we going to do?
This is a huge obstacle.
Wow. What should we do, Jake?
We may have to turn back, John.
You think?
Well, look at that nest we have to go through. Is that a path there?
Once we get over these watercraft, do you think you're going to be able to do this? I
don't
can
know.
take that. There we go. See, we're carrying our banner to unfurl. There we go.
Oh, this is a mess. You know what I want to do on the way back? Seriously. Walk out to Burnham or Park Lane and use that on the way back instead of going back this way.
Okay, so we're not gonna trek through here.
Oh, we're gonna cut through here, yeah. We're gonna go to the wall, right?
Yeah, we're on our way to the wall, Jake. We can't turn back now.
Jesus Lord. Look, they have a sprinkler system here. That's really a good idea.
Jake, I'm very impressed that you had a banner printed for this 2 years ago. What do we think we do now?
I don't know.
I should have worn my water shoes.
Yeah,
I wonder
know.
how soggy this is.
Let's
I'm
go up
going to
on-
test it. I think I might be able to get through.
All right, I'm gonna let you go.
It's working so far. Yeah, we can do it. It's not soggy. And so there's the beach we came from over there.
Amazing.
Let's see. I think we can climb this. I think we're doing this, Jake. We are doing it. This looks like the most likely spot to climb.
My God.
Maybe a foot here or a foot there. I'm gonna go up first. I'll give you a hand up.
And this fence is his property then.
All right.
Oh, you did a great job there.
Oh, shoot. Here we go.
Here, this way. Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome. Wow, have we reached our final destination? Did we really do this?
And we're alive.
Right here at the patio.
Isn't that a nice patio?
This is the nicest public patio. No one else is using it. It's all here for us.
Maggie Korth in her article said that she'd like to sip an old fashioned here at sunset.
Did she do it?
She didn't, but she said theoretically we could. We're entitled to.
Did she make it this far?
Oh yeah. Yeah, even farther. She went even farther that way.
So Jake's idea was for us to do the whole episode from this spot. I was like, I don't know, Jake. I think we should have our conversation and have this at the end because I didn't know what we would run into. I'm glad it worked out this way. Are we going to unfurl our banner
I think we should.
and just be triumphant about things?
I think we should, and that would be just
Okay.
an incredible feat. Look at the size of that house.
I feel like we really accomplished something.
Well, I think we have too. And then we,
How much does this banner cost, Jake? I want to give people an idea of how much you care about this, that you were willing to spend money to print a banner.
you got her hooked?
It's hooked.
This was somewhere in the area of $100.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I have it. And then you pop out on the right side. Oh, look at this moment, iconic moment. Me and Jake here on the private/public patio here on Cedar Lake, holding a banner that says this land is public park land. Do you feel triumphant?
I do. I think this is a first. I think we are the first people to ever come over and declare this, as we have with a huge banner, as public park land.
This feels like the moon landing, right?
It's pretty darn dramatic, I have to say.
Can I say how old you are, Jake?
Go ahead.
80 years old. 80
Just
years
turned
old.
80.
Got me out here on an adventure on Cedar
right.
Lake.
That's right.
An adventure I'm saying is equivalent to the moon landing. Just declaring this as the property of the people of Minneapolis.
The people. This is the people's property. This whole area along here.
Thank you, Jake Werner. I'm your host, John Edwards. This has been the Wedge Live podcast. And remember, Cedar Lake belongs to the people. Thank you for listening and watching.
It's a great ending. Amen.
It's not over yet.
It's beautiful. Yeah, we're going to have to go. I suggest what we do. And you,
How many security cameras do you think caught us?
oh God.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going going on today?
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now, 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 right now.